More books I read this summer. What I have here is Alicia Elliott, the Mohawk author, and her novel, And Then She Fell. One of my favorite books of the last couple of years, to the point where I've read it 3 times now over the past 2 years, making it effectively an annual tradition that I realize is probably not the healthiest thing for my emotional well-being, given that this is a very psychologically triggering and challenging story about, on the surface, postpartum psychosis, which, mind you, is not something that's ever named directly, and these kind of clinical psychological definitions are very much avoided and refused by the text. So don't be afraid of that kind of thing. What you should be afraid of is the sort of scary implications of what Alicia Elliott is doing here with the Mohawk creation story. A story that, if you're in the culture, you will have heard repeated and reiterated on countless times in different venues. And what Alicia Elliott is doing here is updating it into the present day by centering the story of Sky Woman's descent onto Turtle Island instead on a young Mohawk mother named Alice, who has moved to the big city of Toronto for the first time with her white settler academic husband and their young newborn daughter, Dawn. And Alice is going through a very hard time, being divorced from her community, going through the growing pains of early motherhood, and experiencing a lot of spiritual/psychological torment. I find this to be a very punishing novel because you have these different narrative styles. You have, at different points in the story, third person, first person, and the very rare second person you narration all going on. It's quite experimental formally. But what is going on in the main portion of the novel, which is told in the first person perspective from Alice's point of view, is a very realistic and very disturbing depiction of intrusive thoughts and suicidal ideation and anxiety, depression, all of these things, and of course psychosis. So it's just very hard to dwell with this character's mindset for the duration that it is. And it's quite a lengthy novel, as it were. And all of that sort of builds up to a spiral of paranoia that echoes for me and makes this novel feel kind of like an updated Mohawk response to the film and novel of Rosemary's Baby, that other classic feminist text, Polanski notwithstanding, about the pain of motherhood. I would highly encourage you to check this novel out and stick with it, because there is a really, truly radical twist in the final third that recontextualizes everything and makes it super powerful along intergenerational lines. Again, one of the finest horror novels I've encountered of late. Definitely check it out.